is a violent criminal thing.
I was raped. Actually, as a child, I was sexually abused, and as a young woman, I was raped. Not once, but multiple times. It's not news, really. I post about it, and guess what? I've written about it in detail in my book. So guys, get a copy so you know where I'm coming from. But I never say the words out loud. I was raped.
Tito alone will not manage to talk to 40 million. She needs other people coming out to say this is wrong. And we call it in its own definition. Let's not define it. When we start defining and making it look like it should be this instead of this, and we should make it look like this so that it fits the definition of other people, that's where we go wrong. Rape is rape. Sexual assault is sexual assault. When we start applying law, when you go to lawyers now, you meet Ken and another lawyer arguing about how we want to prove someone was raped before them.
We have a very good Sexual Offences Act. Of course, there are areas that can be improved, but we have a very good law that is in place. And even the penalties, when you look at the penalties, are very severe.
You're married and you're taught that your culture, when you want sex, the woman should be ready to give it to you. So when the woman doesn't give it to you and you take it by force, then how can it be rape? Because this man, he has been taught culturally that.
Good evening, my name is Lekuyani, and you're right on time for Ellie's night, rather late night with Ellie. So it's been quite a week, especially for those who have been following closely on what has been happening in the social media space. We are aware that things are taking a little bit of a twist, with some media personalities taking it further and engaging their lawyers. And what is this we're talking about? Of course, that is the story that befell the former radio presenters Shaffie, Weru, and of course, Mfalme, and of course the colleague. And the story was how they presented the case. So tonight we are going to present the same case, but want to get a feel of exactly why is it that we are told we are not man enough when there's an issue that comes about that rotates issues to do with violence and women. And on stage, I have James Mwathi, psychologist, all the way in Nairobi, Kenya. Good evening, James.
Evening, Ellie. How are you?
I'm good. You're looking sharp and ready to go.
Thank you. Nairobi is cold.
It's cold. It's quite warm here. I am pleased to be here, actually. Let's have Gilbert.
The subject makes it hot.
The subject makes it hot. Yeah, are you man enough?
Difficult question. Depends on who you ask.
Great. Let's just find out what Gilbert thinks about the same. Gilbert, human scientist, and of course with us all the way from the US. Good evening, Gilbert.
Good evening, Ellie and James. I believe you guys are doing fine. Very warm here in the US.
Yeah.
And we thank God for everything.
Quite a week it has been. Of course, I'd say that over the weekend, there has been so much exchange on the social media, and we've seen people coming out gun blazing that this one is right, this one is wrong. And before we even establish the right and the wrongs, we probably saw the show that we had last week. And for James, who was on some unapproved leave, this is just a quote of how it went, James.
We need to all be able to call each other out and say, that's not the case. You can't do that. You're harassing someone. So it's upon all of us. When you see something going wrong, say something, tell the person, call them aside, educate, children from the get when you see something off. Not just how you should treat women, but treat all people.
How we should treat all people. James.
All people should be treated with dignity, with unconditional love, and with utmost respect. That's a non-negotiable. It doesn't matter the gender. It doesn't matter the orientation. It doesn't matter. I personally believe that each person should be treated unconditionally.
And based on what has been happening, and when I say what has been happening, it's because there's so much that has been happening, especially in the Kenyan social media space, after the story that came out with the issue that was surrounding these interesting media personalities on how they were read out with the general public. Gilbert, what is your take on those statements?
Thank you, Ellie. I believe that's our society. That's how we formed our society. That's how we have chosen to react to issues, to treat issues with a lot of casualty, with a lot of I don't care attitude. And as we discussed last week, it's a matter of what our society has evolved into. These were unheard of things. But nowadays, it's just normal to vilify each other. More so with the coming of social media, we've made it normal to just don't care what you say. We don't reason, we don't think before we talk, and we don't even think after we've talked. What are the impacts of what I will say? What are the impacts of what I will contribute towards a certain topic? So we just nowadays we like say things to make people happy. If you like pick a topic and you pick this route, you are sure that you'll make people happy and you'll have a following. That's what we do mostly. So as we said, if we are not changing our software, our hardware, our software is in shambles and there's nothing we can do about it. We must go back to the roots and start correcting our hardware so that the softwares that are going in, they are going into the right hardware.
Well, that's a deep one. I think scientists will be able to establish that. But let's talk to psychologists who are equally scientists and they want to focus on this. Are we having a generation or a people that actually are wrecked? You will call it gems, because sometimes the words that come out, they leave a lot to be desired.
Ellie, from the onset, I would want to say that I think I'd told you that I am a bit reluctant to discuss this show today. Because I'm not populist. I do not just flow with whatever everybody is saying. And I know I'll get a lot of bashing, but I choose to look at this subject without emotions. I know it's an emotional discussion, but I want to choose to look at it rationally. Yeah. Having said that, I want to inform you, and I sent you that summons or what one of the presenters' lawyers sent to the company. I want to tell you, the day it happened, the day the three were sacked, I am in a WhatsApp group where we were having very emotive exchanges, and I told people, this case just needs a good lawyer who will bite the bullet and take this case to court. Yeah, because what is happening is, I feel, and I feel restrained to discuss something that has gone to court, but I feel the company reacted in a knee-jerk situation to a situation that had already happened. Yeah. Now, coming to the whole situation, number one, I would want somebody to tell me exactly what. Let's not put a blanket to it. I want somebody to tell me exactly what is making everybody go ballistic. That is number one. The exact words that make people feel uncomfortable. Number two, I would want to know the context behind which these words were said. Why do I say this early? look at, I would rather we discussed as a society, I would rather we discuss the role of journalism or journalists in today's contemporary society rather than discuss the promoted unwanted behavior or whatever. Why do I say that? The three were talking to their audience. It might be lewd, it might be sexually not palatable, it might be, but they are talking to their audience. They are talking in the context that these things happen each and every evening out there. Yeah. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing when I look at this thing, what I'm seeing is now it's becoming a tug of war between male and female. We are no longer looking at the substance of the matter. It's now a tug of war between male and female. I don't know if you've been observing, but now we've started seeing screenshots posted all over social media where now ladies are replying back. This guy has asked a lady out and the lady goes ballistic. What do you want? Can you say up front before I come? Or you want me to come and then you give me drinks and then you rape me? Or you... It's completely insane.
Yep.
It's completely insane. If I have a female friend, it doesn't mean that every time I offer her coffee, I want sex from her, for example. But Ellie, I'm old enough, and I've seen quite some share of my ears to know that whether we like it or not, there is no free lunch. There is absolutely no free lunch. As human beings, we interact for our own purposes and self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
So if earlier I tell you, come, I want to buy you coffee, there is a purpose to it.
Yeah.
Even if it's friendship, then I need companionship. That is a need. So I am fulfilling my own need. I was talking to some ladies who wanted to go ballistic on this. And I was telling them, yes, whenever a guy invites you for coffee or drinks, there is a reason behind it. It doesn't have to be sexual because now, unfortunately, we are just focusing on the sexual bit. But it doesn't have to be sexual. The guy might be lonely or the guy might be needing a meal. So he figures out, I can't go out alone and eat alone. Let me call somebody. You are fulfilling some need. Now we've run away from all this and we've put the sexual connotation to it all. That is why I have a problem with this. Number two, again, if I might come back to this equality and everything, and from the onset, I want to put it here that I have a wife and a daughter, a 12-year-old daughter, so I do not support sexual harassment at all.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that I do not become objective, because I want to look at this objectively. Let's look at this at the generation that we are bringing up.
Mm-hmm.
You will find whenever there is a group of women together and one of them has a date, the first question that the others will ask is, "Akona do?"
And I want us, and actually that is the point that I want us to actually dive into it, because from the context which I gathered, and I mean, it's not about who was right and who is wrong. It's about the perception that surrounds dating, courtship, and everything that goes with it, especially in this new life. So we are discussing about being man enough. And why is it man enough? Because, people will come out and point and say, yeah, you are not man enough if you cannot take her to bed after having a date with her. Or probably you are not man enough if you raise your hand and at a woman. Or you are not man enough for speaking some words that are not so palatable across the board. So that is why we are having this discussion. And we have James Mwathi, psychologist, and of course, Gilbert Makomere, who is a human scientist. Gilbert, James mentioned about the kuku and ado factor when there is a relationship involved. What is your take on that?
First, Ellie, before we go there, I would like to put it clear that I believe my point is not even about the sexual connotation. My point is about misandry and misogyny. where misandry mean dislike or contempt for or ingrained prejudice against men. Misogyny is the opposite. And I think that is where I draw my points before we go to the particular examples we are mentioning now, because this is what we should be stemming out. This is what we should be talking about, because if you are of this mind, you'll find it easy discussing persona in a way to vilify. Discussing someone is not a problem. But when you discuss someone in a way to vilify their character, to vilify who they are in life, that's where the problem comes in, Ellie. And I think that is where we should pick from, because that's where we are missing the point. Because there are those people who think it's just right. It's just right to do what they are doing. It's just right to like talk prejudice against this other sex, whether men or women, and then we find it right in the society. And then from there, now we find it easy. Start doing what the same thing we are asking now. When like umeita mtu date and they are like, huyo jamaa anado. Ani, the only thing they look at you, they don't look at you and see Ellie. They look at what Ellie has. They don't look at your potential. So they have defined man enough through your ability, not through your potential.
Yeah.
So they judge your ability. When they come with expectations. And then they meet their expectation based on their mind. When the expectations are not met, they define you now in their own terms. And they make it to the society. They don't want to define and leave it there. They want to define and tell other people, Ellie is not a man enough. Why? They give reasons. And because also a society, we have defined a way we want to gauge people and see them as men or women enough in the society. We pick and define what should make someone to be a man enough.
Mm-hmm.
Every man is a man enough, based in their context. Because you cannot define me in James' context. You cannot define me in Ellie's context. No, I'm a man enough in my own context, based on my ability and how I dispense it. I think that is the definition we should be going for, instead of going with man enough based on what you can do. I can buy you chips. I can buy someone else kuku. I can take you to KFC. I can take someone else to another hotel, based on the context and based on how we interact. So when we lose the focus as a society, we start engaging in a way and forget that this is morally what is right for us. When we forget the way, we find ourselves in a ditch, defining things based on how they make people happy, or how, wanaita cloud, if it will make you have funds, then do it. Because you can imagine why, like for this case we are talking about, why mbona inaleta hii joto yote? Like James said, mbona action was never taken after walimaliza the show. I'm not defending anyone, but I think these guys did the show, after several days, after people had started complaining, 1, 2, 3, 4, they gained the courage to say, oh, so fans are complaining. Oh, so let's react to fans. But reality is, Ellie, our society, this is how we have chosen to treat each other. And we have chosen to take sides and start defining each other. My question is always, like James said it, he has a wife, he has a daughter. How would James want to protect the daughter? That is the same way James should be able to protect any other woman in the community, in the society. The same way he'll want to protect his daughter, the same way he'll want to speak to his daughter, the same way he'll want someone else to treat his daughter, the same way he'll want his daughter to be treated wherever they are, so that they feel secure, they feel they deserve to be in the community. The same way you, Ellie, you'll want your son to be treated, respected, and fit in the society. Is the same way we should psychologically reflect it on other people. We should not take situation out of context that to me, to me it fits me to be right, but to someone else I can do whatever I think.
Talking about fitting to be right, and I think we lost Gilbert for a moment, but I suppose he's back. James, when we talk about context, and I want us to be very, very objective in this case, was the context out of line, or was the communication the problem? And that comes into all psychology and how people consume and interpret information.
Ellie, thanks. Looking at the context, I would want us to first of all interrogate, and without asking for answers, but even as the viewers watch this, I would want them to interrogate, number one, what kind of a show is this? And it's not enough to just say it's a morning show. What is the target audience? Yeah. And who are the presenters, and what do they represent? Okay. If we are able to answer that, then we can go on and ask, were they out of their context? Because context is tricky here. Yeah. Who are these people who we've put in this show, and who are the audience of this show? That the two will give us the context. Having said that, again, still speaking on top context, I would want us to look at the context that we are, the audience and the society that we are in today, so that we can ask, were these people? It might be wrong. I am not defending it. It is wrong. It's not even it might be wrong. It is wrong. My only question is, were they out of their context? I'll tell you why I don't believe so. We're in a generation where they believe in YOLO. You only live once.
Yeah.
What this does to them is it tells them anything goes. Yeah. So we have a lady here who has this YOLO mentality, and we have a guy on the other side who has the YOLO mentality. Now these two are potentially time bombs. If they meet, there will be an explosion, because nobody is guiding the other. Nobody has the right values. I hear what Gilbert is saying about protecting anybody as if they were your own. Yeah. And I 110 agree to that. Yeah. But then, even as we protect them, what values do each person carry? Because the values that you carry define your character. Because, for example, if you have this don't care attitude, and you think authority is nonsense, and then so you can shout and you can do whatever you want, in as much as we might want to protect you, we might not be able to. If, for example, right now in Kenya we are under curfew, 8 p.m. you should be in the house. If you have this character where you think authority is nonsense, and you go walking around out there and you get arrested, in as much as we might love you and want to protect you, how can we? Yeah. And it's the same case. Again, I particularly feel for the boy child, because, and Ellie, you ask a very pertinent question. What defines manhood? What defines man enough? Again, the problem lies in society and lack of values, because a principled gentleman would, for example, set his own values and say, these are the values that I live by. I will be chaste. I'll treat everybody respectfully. I'll treat any lady with all those good things that we say. Yeah. But then you find that because we do not have values, then society defines us, and society defines what is man enough and what is not. So the man internalizes that to be man enough, you have to sleep with different girls every week. You have to be macho. You have to be disrespectful. You have to. It is society that has defined this for us, and because we have not inculcated the right value system in our generation, in our youth as they grow up, then we are breeding monsters. But then that's the part of the man. What about the lady? Because again, remember, I am not defending any of the two genders, because even the lady equally has a role to play. Yeah. When you go out, for example, I there's a topic I don't want to discuss. But let me ask you, Ellie, a lady you've met on Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy offers you drinks. Yeah. In his room. Why would you go? You do not know this guy. In traditional dating, for example, you would meet in the open for several times before you even consider going into his house, not room, house. But now we are in this don't care generation where anything goes. Again, let me shock you. And this is something that we have discussed with a number of guys.
Yeah.
And they were telling me, if a gentleman goes to a pub and he has enough money, he does not need to, what is the right word? In my age, we used to call it tune. What is vibe? I don't know. What is it called nowadays? He doesn't have to do all these things. He just needs to sit on his table and put a fine bottle of Singleton on the table, and the ladies will present themselves.
And the bottle will do the talking.
It will call them. It will call them. Yeah, but it is a sad situation. We might laugh about it, but that is the context we are in right now. And again, now going back to this conversation that we are talking about, that has brought all this, I might be mistaken and I stand to be corrected. I think the context of that show was they were warning ladies, do not go to strangers' closed spaces. That is the context I got. They might have gone out of line by referring to a particular sad case that had happened, which was wrong because it was demeaning and dehumanizing to the said person. But the context, if you look at the bigger picture, they were saying, as a lady, do not go if you're not ready. Because again, there are women and men nowadays who know if he buys me 2 bottles, I might end up with him. So it's already there. We might hide under the carpet, but it is what is happening in our night life today in Nairobi. But so I think the context for that show was do not.
Sorry, as you say that, I believe it's equally good that there's curfew now. You do not have to stay late. But that's a story for another day. Let's see what people are saying online. And of course, if you send your message here from a group, and I believe there are several of you, we are not able to see your name. So the alternative is to actually watch this link live from the handle, The Arts in Heart. So check on that spelling, The Arts in Heart on Facebook, or equally, just type in Likuyani Alien. When you send in your message, we are able to see your name. Having said that, we have quite an interesting one here, and I would like for you, Gilbert, to actually respond to this one. It says, nowadays, we ladies tumejisort. Not all go chasing after what men have, and I believe this in terms of financial. Wale wako na hiyo mentality ni wase wa campus. Okay, it wasn't supposed to, it does not in any way define what we said. It's the viewer's view on this. They are money-minded. As for Shaffie, crew, the slap was well deserved. Whenever you have a platform, use it wisely. Gilbert.
Yeah, thank you, Larissa, for your comments. They remain your comments and your views. Thank you for airing them out, because we are in a free space where you can say anything. But for me, I believe when she says nowadays we ladies tumejisort, what does it mean? Kwani lini walikuwa wanasotiwa? It's time to ask, kwani ni lini walikuwa wanasotiwa? You see, this is what James has just been talking about. Our society, tumetoka kwa way. We need to re-engineer back to where we are supposed to be and where we're supposed. The values zimetoka. Nowadays, kila mtu ana define values based on how it fits them. So anyone will say anything. And you see the problem with social media, we have made the people that we call them celebrities, of course, who dominate our social media space to define moral. And you see, like for such a show, that airing from 8 to around 9 or 10 there, that's a family show, of course, because of time and there. So when you appear there, do you know how many people listen to you? Being we have around 50 million people in Kenya. We have like not less than 1 million people following your show. And every day, you are trying to define a society based on how you believe it should be. And there are people listening to you. There are people following. There are people who believe in you, in what you say. Eventually, if I believe in you and I follow you, Eli, I'll start talking like you, dressing like you, and thinking like you, because I listen to you mostly. That is how life is. So we start imagining, because Eli believes in this doctrine, so it is, because Eli is a star, Eli has followers, and Eli is a society shaper. So it starts from, I will not lie, this is something that has been happening and people have been complaining, and because you don't have space. Ezekiel Mutua has said this once, not twice, many a times. He has said we have turned our social media platform to be a place where we are vilifying each other. We are getting away from moral. What we know that is values for us as a society, they are being washed down because of the social media platform that people enjoy. What do we do next? We need to go back to our roots. As we have always said on this show, it starts from the family unit. It starts from home. Because if your mother brought you up right, Ellie, and taught you that you need to respect everyone in equal measure, that is what you've been taught. If you never got it right and allow now the society to teach you how you should treat people, it will be up to you. But your parents did it right. If your parents never taught you, you went to school, I don't believe there is a school that will teach you something that has not been checked. So what you are doing, our social media is not checked nowadays. They say anything without caring, and they make it right. And they will find a way to defend it and make it be a law, so that everyone will now take sides. I support and I don't support. But what is the center? What is the basis? What is the basis value there? That if I don't see you and respect you as Eli, if I don't see James and respect James as James, if I can't respect my brother, my mother, my father at home, I will not respect anyone in the society, because I've not been taught. I don't know. So when I do it, if I choose to listen it from somewhere else and define, this is how I should make it a law, that is where I will define. That's why there is now law to check on that. And when you hear those in position to check on that saying that is wrong, we should stop and rethink. What is it that we are doing wrong, that we should do it right? And how should we do it right? Gender mainstreaming is a problem to us. How should we train it? Should we inculcate it in our syllabus in school? Because I don't know if it's there, because we need to start training from there. If you don't train it from that early stage, when guys grow up, the Kababa generation, the one James talks about, we will define laws and values in the society based on people who influence. So if you influence right, people will do it right. So we should check people who influence the society. If you have people with questionable character, and this one I repeat, we are normalizing it in our society, and it will harm us. It will harm us big.
Gilbert, I want to talk more about normalizing this that the society is bringing. And I can see James is itching to say a few words here and there. But James, when we come back, I want us to discuss more about this normalizing of things that are not supposed to be, especially you will realize that when we try to talk sense, and that's my personal view, nobody listens. But when we change the sense into sex, everybody's listening. But then again, that is my personal opinion. So what do we have here? We have a great show coming up tomorrow night with Nyokabi Kamau. We are discussing long distance relationship. So make time, join us then, and be sure to have an interesting show to go ahead every single Wednesday. So just in case you miss out on everything we do, this is a lookout of how things work here. Nokabi Kamau tells me it is the Victoria Falls secrets.
If you have not invested in a proper sexual toy, please do not improvise.
You never know, because at the end of the day, it's about making the fingers do the walking. Sorry, is it the talking?
It's the walking.
So I talk on behalf of the girls who are in the rural Kakamega, who don't know what it is, and they go to church and they are told this is a sin.
Most funny thing about sex is the one thing that you're taught not to do since you're a small girl, and then when you get married, everybody is telling you, go ahead and do that bad thing.
Yes, so you want to talk more about that and actually responsible way to have relationships, join me every Wednesday. Back to the men's den, and I have Gilbert Makumere all the way in the US, and of course, James Mwathi, psychologist in Nairobi. James, back to you. Where then do we start normalizing and actually looking at things the way they're supposed to be and not, taking sides when it's necessary?
Ellie, normalizing the things that we are seeing now is happens very gradually and through very subtle things. I'll give an example. We normalize when we glorify celebrities, quote unquote, put them on radio, even though they're not trained journalists, pay them hundreds of thousands to talk things that are not journalistic in nature. Yeah. So what happens is there's this young man growing up and looking up to this celebrity who is driving the latest BMW, and he never went to college, and all he talks about is partying and booze and women and all that they talk about. And the reason why I'm saying it's a societal issue rather than an individual problem is because Gilbert, when you say about watershed periods and family periods, we know that shows run on ratings. Yeah, shows run on ratings, and the higher your rating, irrespective of what show slot you're in, the higher your rating, the higher the perks that come with it, the higher the recognition, and the higher everything. So what happens is, it does not matter what time frame it is. Each station and each show has its own audience. That's where I am focusing on. And that's why I started this topic by asking, whatever was being discussed, where was it being discussed? And by who was it being discussed? And that's why I said, if we can answer the two, then we can think rationally about this issue that is very emotive. Yeah, because if you look at it objectively, you will find that okay, let me just give it 50-50. Let me not use the word most, but most stations or shows, let me use the word shows, most shows will have sexual connotations irrespective of the timing during the day. Why?
Mhm.
Because sex sells. It's as simple as that. Sex sells. And why? It's because of the generation that we've brought up to glorify everything sexual.
Yeah.
And we've taught them that it is masculine to be sexual. And we've taught the females about female emancipation, about being sexually active at their own terms. I'll tell you, I have friends who will tell me every so often, yesterday at the club, I chipoed a guy. It is normal. It has become normal in our society. It's nothing. And women are fighting for that space. They are saying, you did this. You is men. You did this for so long. Now it is our turn.
It's our time.
Yeah. So it's crazy. It's a generational thing. And again, just allow me very quickly to paint a picture. It starts very early. You find a young couple, the wife has just given birth, the 3 months are over and she can start going out again. And you find every Friday and Saturday, she's going out with her friends, night out. It's girls' night out, it's ladies' night. So they are going out. The husband is going out. The baby, who is 7 months or 8 months, is left with the house girl. Yeah. And you can't question this woman. You can't question this lady. Again, in the generation that I was brought up in, the mother was a nurturer. But speak those words today, and the feminists will bury you alive. They will tell you, why would a man go out and a woman can't go out?
Let's have
So
those
we
people
both
actually
go
giving
out.
us those answers as we discuss this. Why should a man go out and have a woman stay home? Send us your answers with, or rather your response with the hashtag @inheart. Yes, let's bury James alive. Go ahead, James.
I see today you want me to be lynched.
Not only that, but because the whole purpose of this actually, and for those that might misunderstand the concept, it's to have these discussions from the man's perspective, especially now that there's so much talk that is happening about who a man is or who a man is not. So carry on, James.
So I was saying, what are we doing to this toddler? Because the woman has become empowered, quote unquote, because I don't understand this empowerment. I think it's overrated. Yeah.
Mhm.
So the woman has become empowered. The man remains or feels that he's the man of the house, so he can do what he pleases. So they both go out, they both drink, they both come back at 3 hours of the morning, either together or not, and then the whole Saturday they are asleep. You end up finding that the house help knows about the baby more than the parents. We are doing all this in the name of empowerment. So what is happening is that this young child has started role modeling the parents even from infancy. So this kid gets to 18 and you can't tell them not to go to wherever. You can't. He's grown up seeing that happen. If the parents are not going out, they're having parties in the house. They're having friends over and there's liquor and there's... So where are we? Where are our values? Where are our values really? So we start normalizing the abnormal quite early, and one day we wake up and act surprised. Oh, it is happening. While we bred it. It has been happening under our noses all along. It's not that it's static. It has been there.
Gilbert, you wanna give one or two remarks about the same?
Yeah, I'll tend to agree with James that this thing starts at inception when we don't take care of the society we are living in. We long time stopped checking the society. I don't know what happened. Those days, the moral cops in the society, they died long time ago. Nowadays, we've allowed wrong people to influence and put the society right. I remain to ask, what are the roles of these platforms that are in the society that tend, because like James asked initially, what is the role of the media to the society? Is one of their role informing, educating? I don't know. Maybe we define on paper and don't actualize in actions. That's where a problem comes. Where did the church go to? Is it doing enough? Has it failed? Where are the civil rights groups go to? Were they curtailed? Did they die? Did they dine with the mighty and high in the society? So they became one and stopped doing their roles? Where are what we considered like a society that has checks and balances for each and everyone? So that at times you might go astray, but you have someone reminding you, hey, I don't think in our society this is what we should be doing. Have we failed in a way, and where? Because I think that's what we should be discussing. We have to accept we have the problem. The problem is with us. What do we need to do to put this right? Yeah, because there's a challenge, Ellie, we can accept there is a challenge in the society. Where did we lapse? And what should we do? Does it start from top, our top leaders? Does it start from bottom, our family unit? Does it start in the middle, where we have bodies and institutions that are supposed like to come in and mediate the effect of both top and up? I think we need to rethink and establish where we went wrong, because we have normalized. We are not normalizing, we have already normalized what is wrong in the society. And nowadays, we define how wrong. Not if it's wrong, but how wrong is wrong. Yeah? What is the intensity? What is the percentage? If it's 1%, it's okay, it's okay. 50%, it's okay. 90%, that is very, very, very wrong. So you see, we have reached a point where we don't even discuss right and wrong. We now discussed how wrong is wrong. Thank you.
How wrong is wrong. And, somebody, and not somebody, actually, the gentleman have posed an important question that what is the role? And if there are any very few points I remember from my journalism class, we were told we are the watchdog of the society. And other than that, we are the agenda setters. We set the agenda. So even as we try to set the agenda about feminism and masculinity and what is wrong against what is right, someone does come up from the woods and they are telling us, it is not my role to be a role model to your children. Leaves me wondering, but then again, that is my take. Let's see what the audience are saying. We have Jakita who says, nowadays media entertain more than educate or inform. It is up to each individual to learn and to educate. Well, unfortunately, that's the sad reality. However, here on the Men's Den, we do not just educate, we equally inform and we entertain, and we leave you, begging for more information. So this is the right spot to be at. And Nancy Magan, on the other hand, says, nowadays, if we comment our children's behavior to start with, in my time, they are like, yeah, what more, right? So they roll their eyes and they say, times have changed. Yes, times have changed, but not always for the better. I agree with that. We have Susie Love, Susie, who says the kids start also calling their house help mom. And this is in respect to the comment that James said that, children are leaving, mother is leaving to go out, equally the father, and then you cannot question others you buried alive. If a man can do it, we can do better. Gilbert, enjoying and actually following the discussion. Thank you so much for staying put. And many, many more coming in. Of course, Lucy Kampupu, Shishi Win James, Edel Kweyu, thank you so much. Larissa, Chebi, Lucy, and Winnie Bianca, thank you so much for staying put. James, what are the possible tangible solutions to deal with moving forward?
tough one, Ellie. This is tough. This is quite tough. Yeah, because again, it requires a complete total overhaul. Again, the problem that we've made is we've left all the educating, quote unquote, and I use quote unquote because it is an all-round education that I talk about. We've left it to the teachers, and the teachers are asking, why is it our responsibility? Yeah, you find again, by the time a kid is getting to 16 years, the parent can't tell them anything. The parent says
James,
this, the
just
child
before
throws.
just before you get buried again, kindly desist from the word kid, because Anyokabi told me a kid is that young one of a goat. Let's stick to children or a child. Go ahead, sir.
Today is not my day. All right. Now, this young 16-year-old child, a 16-year-old is not a child. I'll use the word adolescent. This young adolescent, this 16-year-old, can't be told anything, can't be instructed by the parent. And this adolescent is living under the parent's roof.
Yeah.
So who is to blame there? And I'm trying to answer your question of how do we turn things? Yeah, I believe it is multifaceted. We have to start as parents. We have to start as way back as parents to the different bodies that Gilbert talks about, the watchdog bodies, the media, our civil society groups. It requires a total overhaul. Unfortunately, popular is always mighty, and most people will always go with what is popular. So again, it becomes a huge task trying to change to right living. Society will always choose what is popular. And that's where we are. Again, remember, the bulk of our population is the youth. The bulk of our population is the people who have been fixated with that you only live once mentality. So unless there is a radical shift, unless churches attract rather than banish, because again, that's one of the biggest problems that churches have got. They do not attract, they condemn, and so nobody cares anymore what they say. Yeah, unless these groups seem attractive, so that this generation that we're talking about is able to borrow from these different bodies and buy into their concepts, then we have a huge task. But again, all is not lost, because I would also want to believe that most of the generation that we are also talking about is at that period when they are starting families and they are having children and all that. I talked about values. If you bring up your child right, if you show them the right value system, and you show them like Gilbert was saying, if your mom taught you respect everybody, do this and do that, there is a chance, yes, that they might go wayward, but there will always be that inner voice that tells them this is wrong. So it is time for us to start parenting better. It is us to start taking parenting as a responsibility. And if it is a responsibility, then you can only lead by example. You cannot come and tell your child that you need to respect women while you're abusing women left, right, and center. You cannot tell your child that women should be shown respect, and when you go out to the restaurant, you're shouting at the waitress. Yeah. So if we are responsible in our actions, and we bring up a responsible generation, then just maybe we might be saved from what we are going through currently.
Maybe, just maybe, we might be saved. And Gilbert, your take, sir?
Yeah, I think as we've said, we've left our definition of values to people who influence the society, and I think that's where we should start checking ourselves, because I believe there are bodies and there are people mandated, and there are people who are better placed to guide this society. But we have idealized celebrity because they have painted a picture to us that the generation we are having now is after success. So if there is someone who can define success to you in an easy way, they are the people you'll always follow and admire because you want to be like them. They have risen to higher scales without definitions and without like steps. So I just want to be like them. They will tell you how they have made it, but they will not tell you the steps they took to make it, and tell you there is patience, there is time involved, there is discipline, there is learning in the process. We have idealized corruption as a society. The effects are coming out clearly that we can have people who have it without struggling. You can just walk through an office, and by the time you're in that office, they just give you a tender and you supply air, and you're paid millions and you have millions. You don't know how they come, and you are on social media, you have money, you can say anything, you can abuse anyone. We have made entertainment be the main focus of our social media platforms instead of educating, directing, and being there as the moral cops. We have chosen as a society to give people platform because they appeal, not because they know what they are doing. So like you go to media, we are employing comedians and people who can make people bring numbers to the show, as they said, with the rating, and left those people who have gone through the school, who have been taught how to do the job. So those are the people, they get into positions, they are managers, and they want to continue the same. They start firing now those who are professionals. They want those who will bring in numbers, because numbers matters more than what you are doing to that community, and we make it normal. It's now normal. This is how business should be run. The same people come from there, they get into leadership positions, they take the same character there. There are people making our laws. They tamper with our laws. These ones, the laws that were there, they will term them, these were retrogressive. They bring more appealing laws to the society. And those are the laws that we want to follow now. We bring laws that are appealing, not laws that are helping the society. And in the long run, what do we have? We have this generation that is coming up that idolize celebrity instead of knowing that there is patience into everything and there are steps. Now we don't want even to go to school. We just want to take shortcuts and make life be normal. And it starts from there. By the time we realize, a whole society is behaving that way. So who will be the moral cop? If all of us have been cooked in one pot, so who will serve the food?
And that, of course, marks the end of this discussion tonight. Of course, keep the conversation going, because this is not a conversation that can end in a night. Before we do that, allow me to reintroduce again my panelists for the night. As always, the very able James Mwathi, a psychologist based in Nairobi. If you want to get in touch with him, I will quickly show up his contacts. That is James Mwathi, and 254-724-739-949. I'll take that again. +254-724-773949. That is MwathiJames30@gmail.com. Get in touch with James for any psychological psychology-based consultations, and he'll be able to be of help to you. And of course, very own Gilbert Makumere, all the way in the US, a very interesting, I would say, young man. He's not that young though, keeping it alive all the way in the US, and of course a human scientist, and is here with us every single Tuesday in the Men's Den to discuss issues surrounding men. Always a pleasure coming to you. Remember, tomorrow night we are hanging out with Nyokabi Kamau on the show, Late Night Date with Ellie, long distance relationships. Are you in a long distance relationship? So what are the do's, don'ts, And of course, what are the flags to check out for? I think James will want to come, but I will consult with him at a later stage. So, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight, we end it here. See you next week as we bring you more of these and other discussions, because we just want to find out, are we men enough to be the leaders? Next week, we discuss about leadership in men. See you then. And for now, I leave you with this. Have a